Hey folks, welcome back to another video, and in this video I want to walk you through the things to look out for on a property viewing. And in fact we're going to do this in one of my own properties that I've just purchased, because this is the perfect example between a property that could be a turnkey buy-to-let property but also has some money to be spent on it, and it's that perfect balance between it's not a full refurb and it's not a turnkey buy-to-let. So let's take a look around. Coming in the front door, what is the first thing that I want to do on a viewing when I'm here, likely with an estate agent or with an owner? Well, the first thing that I am going to do is always be respectful of them and their time and the tour that they want to take me on. I'm not going to wander off, do my own thing, get distracted by what I'm doing. In fact, what I'm going to try to do is actually overly give them my full time and attention and focus. Yes, I'm going to be looking around, I'm going to be aware of the property and the viewing, but I really want to build rapport. I really want to ask questions, understand the motivation of the seller, understand the timescale that this needs to be sold, understand, what the agent believes the value of this property could be, and perhaps any pluses or any negatives to this property. So I'm going to give them time. I'm going to go around and ideally spend 5 to 10 minutes on the viewing with them prior to asking for a bit of time to wander off. And then I'm going to really tune in my focus to try and understand which points of this property are going to be expensive and do I really need to make note of. Let's take a look at this front hallway. We've come in the front door, and the front door itself, albeit not my probably chosen design, is in a good enough condition to keep. Okay, a door like this will probably set you back about £1,000, £1,100. So it's all important to see where we can save money, and this door is in certainly usable condition. That brings me on to the front hallway carpet. Okay, there's a good enough doormat, which again has seen better days, but the carpet in particular has some staining on it. So I'm thinking about, what are we going to do there? What is the condition of the carpet running up the hallway just in front of me as well? But the main thing that's sticking out to me, which I don't know if you've spotted yet, is the texture on these walls, which I will talk about in just a moment. The radiator, again, probably old, it's a bit dated, but from what I can see, probably usable. It's got the correct size pipework, or the newer sized pipework. Some older properties will have narrower pipework. This seems to be up to date, although the pipework is on the surface, which again, in an ideal world, that would be buried beneath the walls and hidden out of sight. But you can't have everything in life, but it's something to make note of. Now, I said I would touch on the wall situation, well, quite literally, right? But the textured walls, well, they go all the way up the hallway, as you can see behind me, and they come all the way through into this room as well, which we're about to talk about in a moment. So what do we do about these textured walls? Well, we have two options, and this might be really obvious, but sometimes it is useful to hear the obvious so that you know how to tackle it when you get into this situation. So the first one is we just simply leave it. It doesn't cost us any additional money to leave it. In fact, it costs us nothing, okay? And the bonuses to this is that it is not a fire hazard to leave it, and it is not going to cause the rent to be £100 less because it's got textured walls. Yes, it might not be to everyone's tastes, so it might put some people off of renting it, but it's certainly not going to devalue that rent considerably. The second option, the other option, obviously, is to get rid of it, okay? And I would encourage this more if we're doing other works to the property. So what we could do is we could have all the walls skimmed over to create a more modern, flat and appealing look, which might increase the rent just slightly, but more importantly, increases the desirability of the property. So now let's talk about the sitting room. Moving into the sitting room, there's a couple of things that I just want to start to think about and keep an eye out for as I start to make my way around the viewing. And these are the high ticket items. The first high ticket item that I want to make note of is the windows as I'm going around the property. Are they UPVC? So are they double glazing? Are they plastic? Are they wooden? Are they single glazed? Okay, because obviously if they are single glazed or if they are wooden, they are as likely to be a cost associated with upgrading them or maintaining them in the future. In an ideal world of a rental, what we want to see is windows just like this, double glazed, UPVC, and hopefully in good condition, not too old, with fully working and functional handles as well. Okay, so that's one of the high ticket items. The other two to think about is going to be electrics and the plumbing, so the boiler as we go around. We want to make sure that we find those before we leave the property. In the meantime, not too much to note about this room other than, unfortunately, carpets are perhaps slightly stained and have seen better days. Personally, I would want that if I was living in this property, and it's also a hell of a lot cheaper if I keep that. So I like the fireplace. I might do something to spruce it up a bit, redecorate it, maybe take the shelf off of it and try to make more of a feature out of that in the room, as well as updating the shelves all around as well. Another thing to note is the ceiling. Unfortunately, again, we've got the textured Artex ceilings. One thing not to miss is an understairs cupboard, because often an understairs cupboard will house one of our high ticket items. If we don't have an electrical box up here as we come into the property, which is often where they're found, in that kind of front hallway, they're often located in a kitchen or within a cupboard. And lo and behold, in this property, here we have the electrics, the consumer unit. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but that consumer unit looks older. It's that kind of older style of plastic. Other signs of having old electrics are the following. Low sockets. Okay, a socket should not be that close to the skirting. So that is a clear and easy sign. When I say the wiring's out of date, I don't mean that it's unsafe. I don't mean that it always needs changing. It just might be a bit outdated. Now, what's important to note with this property is it was previously a rental. So I can tell you now, it's fully certified. It has an EICR in place. It is safe to rent this property out. However, in the future, something to consider is the fact that the wiring might need to be updated in the future. Now, just to summarize what makes the ideal viewing, right? This is something I provide to my members that work with me at Property X, and that is a tick box list, because what we want to do is we want to form good habits when we go out on viewings. We want to create the habit of, let's say, arriving to the viewing 5 minutes early, getting there before the estate agent or before the owner sees you, having a look from the outside, understanding, is this a nice road? Is this a bad road? Is there crime here? Is there lots of litter? Then having a look at the outside of the house. What's the house like? Okay, like we mentioned, the roof, the chimney stack, the guttering. Okay, sometimes how the outside of the house is kept is often a reflection of how the inside might be kept. Obviously, we want to spot any potential high costing items as well. Then when we move inside, what we don't want to do is to get flustered. We don't want to get distracted by someone talking to us. So we need to go round, build rapport, find out more about the property, and then have that separate time away from the person, not talking, where we can really think, actively think. What's the quality of the walls? What's the quality of the electrics, the plumbing, the windows, the front and back door? Is there anything we need to be aware of here that's going to cost us a lot of money? Damp, cracks. Because when you go out to do your first viewing or your second viewing or your third viewing, you will miss bits, which is why it's so important just to start viewing properties, simply just to build up your experience and to build these habits. Whereas when you've done 10 viewings, 20 viewings, 30 viewings, well, guess what? All of a sudden, you become a lot better at it and you start to remember all of these points. And you now don't need a sheet with tick boxes because you know exactly what to look out for when you're on the viewing.